Thank you very much. So we're now open for questions. Please come right up to the microphone. You can ask individual members or you can just ask a general question. Annette, please.
Hello, Annette Son from Treat Asia. My question is for the CON team. Yesterday we heard about how in the HIV world, especially for super high-risk groups, and I would say adolescents and young adults, that we really need to throw the kitchen sink at HIV because we're just not getting on top of it, and we're finally convinced that we need to do combined prevention, combined treatment, that treatment and prevention are all along the same continuum. If we're saying that the TB epidemic is even bigger in terms of the numbers of people, the numbers of deaths, why is it so bad not to take a kitchen sink approach to trying to control TB? Maybe we need this in addition to many of the other things so that that curve can get better. So is it time for kitchen sink approaches to TB, and does LTBI treatment, is that part of that armamentarium?
I don't know if kitchen sink approach translates into Thai or any other language, but you get throw everything. Should we throw everything? Why not? Anton?
Okay, so it sounds great, the kitchen sink approach, but adolescents are under a lot of stress, okay? So first of all, they're going to ask you, what risk is it that I'm going to get TB? Secondly, you're giving them antiretroviral treatment, and you know how difficult all that is every day if they're HIV positive. And suddenly you're stigmatizing them a bit more by giving them other stuff. Hey, what's that stuff? Oh, it's to stop me getting TB. Hey, you got TB, have you? Because the understanding in the public, if you just start doing this stuff without any education or knowledge or understanding, you're going to start getting people not taking it correctly. And if they start and stop it like they do with antiretrovirals, you're going to have an issue. So at the moment, giving the kitchen sink to these kids, every single drug you can think of. I mean, it's such a medical approach. I mean, yeah, I can see the rationale in terms of stopping epidemics, but actually when you get down to the whole social side of it without doing a lot of preparation and organizing these kids, and making sure that society are prepared for all this, just doing it, which we've heard as an option, is to me going to be doomed to failure. So it has to be part of something which is totally acceptable. And at the moment, I can't believe that if you go to all your adolescents and say, hey, take these pills as well, they're all going to go, fantastic, I'm going to take these every day for 6 months. Right. Don't believe it.
Frank, would you like to say something?
Yes, of course. I mean, of course, this is a comment to my heart, as you've understood just now. And I think, of course, you need to make sure that treatment is accepted. That's true for every treatment. So why would we make an exception here? Say, okay, we just throw these pills at these kids and then they won't take it. No, that's true for every pill. So I don't really see why this would be an argument. To be honest, I think that we have more or less the same story as the treatment as prevention story in HIV. I mean, we need to treat to prevent, and I think the combination of treatment and prevention in tuberculosis make perfect sense. Mind, this is the biggest killer worldwide. People are dying at far too high rates. This is a disease that can be treated, it can be prevented, and we don't do it.
Thank you. Dr. Kunkanya, please.
Sorry, Frank. People are dying from active TB, so finding the cases stops the deaths as well. Okay, so that's another thing you've got to remember.
The problem is, I think it seems like a very valid point, but it is the point that has always been raised by the old DOTS protagonists. This is the world that I come from. This is TB 20 years ago. Yes, in that it was true. Now we know much more. We know much more about the natural history of the disease. We know it may take half a year before someone actually gets the classical symptoms of TB and is diagnosed. In between, you have a period of half a year, probably even longer, in which there may be subclinical tuberculosis. People will actually die in that period. People will be transmitting to other people in that period. So we have shown that it doesn't work. The DOTS strategy, just relying on treatment and diagnosis, doesn't work. If it would have worked, The model by Chris Dye in the Lancet in 1998 predicted that if we would do as good as you're doing here in Southeast Asia, you would be rid of the problem by now. We are not, which means that the DOT strategy has failed. You're a protagonist of a failed strategy.
Sorry, Frank.
Okay.
I don't know. You seem to be talking to me as I'm not here because I don't. You can't use the fact that it's a place you came from. I mean, I was treating TB in India in 1978, so I've come from a long way back too. So I'm just saying, I'm just making a point about social structures and social awareness before, and also treating active cases before suddenly you say to all these governments, hey, don't fund this, you got to fund all of this, okay? So it's just an important point. When you hear that Frank's come from a certain place, we've all of us have come from a certain place, yeah? So it's not an argument.
Let's go to Dr. Kunkanya.
Thank you, Jin. Kunkanya from Bangkok, Siriraj. I just would like to share the experience as a pediatrician. I think pediatricians are doing much better in terms of providing IPT to their patients than adult doctors. Mainly because, you know, it's easier for us to give the medications to our children than to be taken by themselves, you know, their own. When we are trying to convince the parents that this is the only window of opportunity for you to prevent the disease, the parents will say, yes, we go for it. You can see all of the guidelines, including the guidelines in Thailand, say that if you have the history of exposure, you don't need to get the test at all, because young children under 5 years of age has so much risk of developing TB disease after exposure to the organism. And HIV-infected people should be considered as children younger than 5. So I think, the very important thing is to realize that adult patients, although you are trying to provide a very rapid, fast, early diagnosis and treatment, by the time the patient develop the symptoms or come to you with early diagnosis, they already have spread to other people. And that's why we cannot afford to have a new patient, and that's why we have to go for this small window of opportunity to prevent the disease by providing IPT. So I think if we are trying to go for it, although there are a lot of barriers, as you know, the Con has discussed, I think we can do it. We have to convince the society, the medical society, and the public, and that if we are going to go for ending TB, we have to do this. Otherwise, we will have new cases to come for and make diagnosis and make treatment, and we never be able to prevent the new case at all. Thank you.
So, Dr. Evy, maybe I throw it to you. So what do you think, Dr. Kunkanya's question about anyone who comes to see you
in adult
in Jakarta?
If I may stratify the patient, like giving grade to all the patients between 0 to 10, I will offer the IPT if I am very convinced that they are not TB. And if the mark is between 8 to 10. But if I'm not sure that the patient had no TB or probably already have a TB, but I cannot diagnose, I probably wouldn't offer. Another approach that we have tried before is actually for those patients who not on antiretroviral therapy and they have a very low CD4, so we offer the antiretroviral first before, and then wait for 3 months or up to 6 months after that before offering the prevention to see whether they have an unmasking iris TB or it comes out in between the 3 months. However, it's not working because after 3 months, the doctor will forget that you need to do that. So
it doesn't look like you will do what Dr. Kunkanya was saying. Never.
Yeah.
In Jakarta.
Yes,
Okay.
I will do if I'm convinced that the patient had no TB.
Okay.
That's the first thing that I need to be sure. But I think that also I know the pediatrician in Indonesia has already started the IPT longer before it was adopted to the adult population in HIV. But I think the reports show that the coverage is not really good as much as we think.
Okay. Anchalee, so you're for giving it to everyone. So in your next meeting with the Thai Guidelines Committee, are you going to say no need to do any TST, no need to just give it to everyone? Is that?
So as I'm a mother and a doctor, so I don't want to see any children get sick with the TB. And also with if we treat adult effectively, so we can prevent many lives of children. So I also thank for Ajahn Kunkanya and Anna to support our team. So I see. So
you don't know, they might have voted differently. They're just asking the question.
So I can say that. So in the high risk population, high risk of active TB, we should do it without TST or IGRA testing, especially in HIV-infected patients with lower CD4 cell count. As we know that even we do the TST, it can be false negative. So the benefits is outweigh the risk. And also if we can just say that negative chest ray, and also the patient, if they don't have any symptom of TB, so I think it's better to start latent TB treatment. But we have to look at whether the time to start. So maybe the most important thing is ART. So we should start ART, rapid ART first, and then if the patient can tolerate that, so we start LTBI later. Especially during the first 6 months, the risk of active TB is very high in this population, I mean in HIV-infected patients.
But that is not being proven by any study yet. Starting antiretroviral 3 months or 6 months and then offering the LTBI after that, it's no study actually ever done it before.
So even if no evidence on that, the evidence showing that the high risk of active TB after ART usually occur during the first 6 months of ART. And also the strong evidence from temporal trial. Even the patient with high CD4 cell count, if you combine IPT and ART together, it reduces the risk of TB and reduce the death of this patient. So I think with this, and also if we have very short regimen, for me, if you ask me, I'm not a fan of isoniazid 9 months. So I would prefer shorter course. Shorter is better. So it's better in terms of to complete the treatment rate,
Okay.
and also to lower down the hepatotoxicity.
Thank you. So we are going to go to the closing soon, but if just brief comment, Ajahn Kunkanya, and brief comment, Nitya, and then you can answer their questions in your closing statement if you wish to.
No, just a very, very brief comment back to your statement that, of course, you need to exclude TB disease before you start a TBI treatment. But it shouldn't be that when you are trying to already exclude, you cannot 100% for sure that the person does not have TB disease. And that should make that patient miss the opportunity of LTBI treatment. That's my point. If you do your very best and you think that the patient doesn't have active tuberculosis, why not go ahead and give LTBI treatment? Thank you.
Nitya, please.
Thank you very much. I actually have one question for Dr. Anchalee, which you may want to include in your closing statement. And I believe this is a question that your answers would be very important in order to convince clinicians in this room to vote for you, for the pros team. And the question is that I believe, or I assume, you are one of the infectious disease doctors who used to not believe in screening and treating for latent TB infections. So what is the key factors, key trigger in your life that changed your mind from someone who did not really supporting this idea to be the leader of the pros team who are like defending this very confidently and loudly today? Thank you.
Thank you, Nitya. So, Anchalee, thank you. So I'd like to just go to the closing statement because we have a short time left. And so we're going to reverse the order that we started with. So we start now with closing statement by Dr. Evy against the motion. Please, just a few comments before we end.
Thank you for the comments. I think that we know as a doctor, we try to do our best to our patient. And as Professor Kulkarni said that there are many tests. We should do our best for diagnosing TB. However, in many places or area, the test is not accessible and we cannot do the test to the patient. That's why it is not easy to say for me that everyone should be treated for latent TB if we are not sure that he doesn't have TB. And I think we should be to make more doctors convinced that the latent TB is very important. Actually, all the guidelines and many things still confusing. So, like first thing, whom to be given and how we can classify the patient who will have a better one, a patient with TB without antiretroviral, after antiretroviral, or the one who doesn't have symptoms at all with the high CD4. And then the other question is, of course, maybe we should think about the logistic issue. If you want to give 9 months isoniazid or 6 months isoniazid, it should be an easy thing to be given to the patient. Sometimes, because of the trying to limiting the problem of drug resistance, it is difficult to find a single dose of anti-TB for prevention because many drugs is now in the fixed dose combination anti-TB, and it's not easy to get the INH with the vitamin B. And what we have at the moment, just vitamin B and INH in 2 different tablets. So it's not an easy thing to discuss, and if we are convinced, then many things to be done, especially the thoughts of the patient and the thoughts of the doctor that it is important for them to get the treatment. So I think we still have many things to do before come out to say that we have to treat everyone in Southeast Asia for the latent TB. Thank you.
Thank you. So now arguing for the motion, Frank, please.
I think the arguments of the con team, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're very valid arguments. They're very strong arguments. This is a difficult thing to do. There are all sorts of clinical, operational reasons why it is difficult. And that's been a major reason why it hasn't been on that scale. Having said that, and that is to some extent answering Nitya's really brilliant question, really comes at the heart of the matter. What made you change? Because I was always against it, because I always saw those downsides. But if we want to get rid of this problem, I would love to see TB disappear during my lifetime. I'll be 60 next year. I mean, how much more do I have? I would love to see it disappear during my lifetime. And a vaccine is going to that's going to last a very long time. I can tell you. I do some things in vaccine as well. So this is the only thing that we have. And I think I think we should turn the argument around. We shouldn't say, oh gosh, it's too difficult, and what are all the reasons why it's too difficult, and why aren't we doing all the other things? I think, how could we make this a success? And look into that. How can we make this a success? How can we use those tools that are out there instead of just thinking what the limitations are? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Anton, your last chance to convince people.
Okay, so there are two ways to look at this. The first way is to listen to what they say their visionaries, their point of view, a populist point of view. And you know, that's, in this world at the moment, that's really going round and round. Lots of people like populists. Look, I can do populists. Watch this. Take off my glasses, mess up my hair, and hey, the truth, financial stuff, that's all fake news. It's fake news. Modeling is American. Modeling is true, right? So this is the sort of stuff anyone can do if they really try, okay? And people start to believe in it all. Or you can do what the reality is. Now, everyone in this room, right, when you walk out to lunch now, somebody's going to be on the door and they're going to be giving you, because we don't have the 1 month yet, 6 months of pills, right? They're also going to give you 6 months of pills for your children, for your parents, right? And for everyone in your household to take home and give, because the motion was that everyone in Southeast Asia should have isoniazid prophylaxis. Now, I'm not going to tell you how much all this costs or who's going to monitor you if you get sick or anything else, right? All of that stuff has to be going on as well. You've got to decide that doing that, rather than targeting where the prophylactic goes, just as WHO has said, targeting it is a better option. So you have to decide whether you want, it's a populist thing where when you walk out the door, everybody gets it, or you decide that actually what we're arguing is it's much better to target this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Anton. Okay, Anchalee, you have the last word.
So my closing statement is that, so now we have a very effective medication, lefapentine. So lefapentine can overcome isoniazid resistance. In this region, isoniazid monoresistance is quite high, so why in the past we didn't want to give the patient with isoniazid monotherapy, and also with the long duration of 9 months in HIV-infected patients. So now the shorter regimen is available. As I'm having said that, so the TB burden, TB mortality rate is very high in this region. So we cannot ending the TB by 2030 if LTBI treatment cannot be in place. Believe me that. And also, we should combine the package together from active case fighting and also the TB treatment and prevention together. Prevention for HIV, just go with rapid ART combined with LTBI. And also, not just a HIV-infected patient, children younger than 5 years of age. I think if we prevent adult enough, good enough, so our children will free of the TB in the future. And also, not just that, contact case investigation. We have to do that. I think this is really a very good time to do that. Everyone can do that. We have to do it. And also, I would like to say that we or everyone in this room should save many lives free from deadly bacteria. Thank you very much.
Can you bring my slides up, please? So before we go to the post-debate voting, I'd like you to join me in applauding all the team members for such a job. Very well done. So we're going to go to the post-debate voting. Everyone has their phone. Can you bring up the slides as well, please? In the back. You ready? Okay. So the motion, again, is everyone in Southeast Asia should be screened and treated for latent TB. So we're going to vote now. right. So before the debate, 37% voted yes, 47% no, 16% undecided. After the debate, 42% voted yes, so they gained the most votes, so the winner is the team for the motion.